Hello children, I hope you enjoyed the comprehension lesson we had last week. I did, and today I look forward to enjoying yet another comprehension lesson. Our lesson for today is from Focus on Comprehension Book 3, and the title of our passage is The Moon of Gomrath. What a name, you'll say. Well, from the name it seems to me like it's going to be quite an interesting lesson. So, let's find out more about it. We will start our lesson today with a quick review on what we did last week. Do you remember what we did last week? I have a clue here that would help. The Excalibur. Now, that sword, you will say. Looking at that sword, you should be able to remember some of the things we read about last week, like the name Merlin, Arthur, Lady Nimue. Can you make connections now? Remember we talked about Arthur and Merlin visiting a magical lane in the island of Avalon, where they were given this sword, the Excalibur, and also a scabbard, a special kind of scabbard. Remember we were told that the scabbard will ensure that he never loses a drop of blood. But the sword will bring him victory, glory, and honor. Well, I still remember some of the things we read about this story last week, and I believe you do. But moving forward, we'll be going to what we have for today, which is the Moon of Gomrath. We will start with an introduction. I have this question for you. Have you ever been privileged to spot a full moon in the night sky? Did it look like this? Let's take a look at this picture. It seems to have been taken at night. And looking at the picture, the moon in it is full. Does this give us a clue as to what the passage will be about? Wow! Looking at this picture, I see a boy in his pajamas leaving his bed, but he seems to be sleeping. So I must say that he is actually sleepwalking. And in the other picture, I see a girl in her nightie, eyes shut, and walking. She must be sleepwalking as well. And hers seems quite dangerous because of the location at the moment. She seems to be standing on a rooftop. I see a clue there to help me know that it's really a rooftop. There's a chimney. Wow, this is scary. Our objective for today's lesson. We have quite a number of objectives, and we'll be discussing them one after the other. The first one will be this: to read the passage fluently with understanding. Identify the main idea in the story. Identify new words. Answer the comprehension questions correctly. Our picture reading for today. Now, take a good look at the picture in the passage. Do you have any idea what the story might be about? Here are some clues. Take a closer look. Can you see a scared-looking boy with a hand pulling him by the foot? How about his surrounding? Where does it look like to you? These clues should help you. Now let's look at the boy's face. He seems scared. And there is a hand pulling him by the foot. Whoever it is seems to have fallen off that cliff and wants to use his foot as a way of climbing back up. Wow. This is giving me an idea of what the story might be about. And besides, looking at that picture, I can tell that it is late, quite late for that boy to be out there. What is really happening? Let's find out more. Reading time. Now it is time to read. It is a short text. However, take note of the new words. For example, query. you might have to look up some words in the dictionary to have a better understanding of the passage. Unit 2, the moon of Gomrath. Think ahead. Look at the picture. What could have happened? Colin woke suddenly and discovered his sister's bed was empty. Colin tiptoed downstairs and groped his way to the door. It was still bolted. Had Susan dropped 9 feet to the cobbles? He eased the bolts and stepped outside. And as he looked, he saw a thin silhouette pass over the skyline of the Readings. Colin ran, and by the time he stood up at the top of Clinton Hill, he had half the lead that Susan had gained. For it was undoubtedly Susan. She was wearing her pajamas. Straight ahead of her were the dark tops of the trees in the quarry. Sue! No! Wait! That's dangerous! She's sleepwalking. But she's heading for the quarry. Colin ran as hard as he had ever run. He came to the fence that stood on the edge of the highest cliff and looked around while he recovered his breath. The moon showed all the hillside and much of the quarry. The pump tower gleamed and the vanes turned, but Susan was nowhere to be seen. Colin searched the sides of the quarry with his eyes and looked at the smooth black mirror of the water. He was frightened. Where was she? Then he cried out in fear as something slithered over his shoulder and plucked at his ankle. He started back and looked down. It was a hand. A ledge of earth, inches wide, ran along the other side of the fence and crumbled away to the rock face, a few feet below. Then the drop was sheer to the tan-like water. The hand now clutched at the ledge. This story is a cliffhanger. You must be wondering what a cliffhanger means. Well, a cliffhanger is a story that ends but doesn't end, meaning that there is still much to be discovered about what happened. We still don't know where Susan is. We still don't know whose hand it is, and we are confused, wondering, where could she be? Remember, Colin is worried. He can't find his sister, and yet there's this unknown hand out here in the middle of nowhere. What do you think could have happened to Susan? Wow. The main idea of the story. Let's look at the main idea quickly. The story is about a girl called Susan who went sleepwalking into the woods in the middle of the night. Fortunately, her brother noticed and ran out in search of her. But we don't know if he found her, because from the passage, we weren't told if he found her. So it is a cliffhanger. We get to know what happened. Let's look at the new words we came across while reading the story. Now look through the passage and identify the new words. We have an example here for you. Quarry. What does that word mean? Well, it is an open excavation from which stone or other material is extracted by blasting, cutting, or drilling. Now, while reading the passage, I came across some other words which I believe you might want to look up. There is a word known as silhouette. You need to look up the meaning if you don't understand what it is, because when you do, you'll be better able to understand the passage. Now look through the passage and see if there are other words that you don't know the meaning, like time. Get your dictionaries out and search for the meaning of these words. Understanding them will ensure you are better able to understand the passage. Now we've read the story, we've done our picture reading, we've done the summary of the passage, and we have also looked at the main idea of the story. It is time for you to put what you've read to test. Now I must warn you that there are some questions in a passage that has inferred meaning, it means that you have to look at the passage, read in between the lines, make sure you've understood what the passage is all about, and by doing that, you will understand what the meaning of the passage is, because the answer might not be there in print. So read the passage again, understand every single sentence in the passage, then go to the questions and you will answer them correctly. I wish you all the best as you answer the questions, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's comprehension lesson. Take care and goodbye.